Hey, I'm Willie. I got a bit of an update for you guys. Since winter's all finished up for the year, I had gone out of my way to store these snowblowers. The red one ran great and the green one ran great. We did fry the belt on the yellow one. Being that you have to take the whole auger assembly apart to replace the belt, we usually just run a segmented belt on it. And I do have some coming in the mail, so we'll be ready for next year. But what I do for storage on all these snowblowers is I drain all the gas out of the tanks, and I put an ounce of straight seafoam into the tanks, and I let them run out of gas. And once they're run out of gas, I'll drain the oil out of them. I'll fill the cylinders up with some fogging oil. You can use seafoam spray or Sta-Bil fogging oil. I put that in the cylinder and I just crank it over slow to disperse it through the cylinder. I also spray some oil on top of the head and in the muffler to keep them from rusting. And to preserve all the plastic on these, I will spray all of the vinyl, rubber, plastic with the 303 aerospace protectant to keep them from dry rotting out in the sunlight, which is why there's a little bit of a sheen on the chute right here. And that keeps them from dry rotting. Now what was in here was my Craftsman. All I did for storage with my Craftsman is when the grass was done growing, I put a little more seafoam in the tank, brought it in here and parked it, and that's it. It sat out here pretty much all winter long. And the battery was still charged, so all I had to do was crank it up to start it. But what I do before I start it is similar process as what I do with these to store them. I just pull the spark plugs out, put some oil in the cylinder, and I crank it over to prime the oil. And that disperses the fogging oil in the cylinder, lube up the cylinder, and it also primes the oil pump, as well as the fuel pump will prime the carburetor when you crank it over a few seconds. Then I put the plugs back in and it fires right up. You'll see in the upcoming video I have that coming up next. And another thing I want to go over is some of the new additions to the shop. Let me get the camera turned around and I'll turn you guys back on and I'll go into more detail on that. So stay tuned. This is a new to me cab for simplicity for the runner board tractors. Seems to be in pretty good shape. However, I think this side of the cab was faced out towards the sunlight in a garage or something like that, because this side is actually more brittle than the sides and the back, and you can see how it's got a crack in it up here. Everything's there. The vinyl is still supple. It is dirty because it's been sitting for quite a while. It does still have the brackets for the foot pieces. I'm not sure what else I'm missing, with the exception of the fiberglass piece there and the door hinge for this side. There's some minor tears, but no gaping holes anywhere. Nothing that can't be fixed. The frame is still galvanized. That's not turned to rust, so it's not too bad. Even the screws look to be in pretty good order. Matter of fact, it looks like they've been changed at some point because some of them are mismatched. The latch is still on this side. You can see it right here. So I'm thinking I can replicate that since I have one. So I saved that. That's my brother's ATV. That runs. I'm not going to go starting it because then I have to let it run for a while. This thing's been running great. Now, I run this tractor often enough. I don't have to worry about storing that. I do have to take the snowblower off of it and prep it for tractor pull season. I'm thinking about taking the 12 horsepower out since it's burning quite a bit of oil. Needs a little bit of service work. This engine is all original. The engine was not rebuilt. It was just taken apart, cleaned, painted, and put back together. I never changed the piston or the rings or rods or valves, nothing. That's all original from 1967. It even has the original carburetor still on it. The carburetor has not been changed. It has been painted. It still has that steel insert on it. It's not all solid aluminum. I'm thinking I might put my rebuilt 16 horsepower on here and paint it so it all looks good, and then take all the bolt-on parts from here and put it on the other engine. If that balance cover plate can be swapped over. If not, I might have this engine bored out for a 20 thousandths oversized piston for a 16 horse and just fully rebuild it, new valves and valve springs and all that fun stuff. Fully service that. and it needs some work here and there. The beveled gearbox needs some shims put in it, and the axle is, or at least the differential, has a lot of play in it. I think I want to go through that and see if I can't put some keyways in it, so it's in need of some work. Not to mention, I never did put the good handle on here. I gotta finish that restoration one of these days. I've just been too busy. As for the chrome, I just spray that down with the Seafoam Deep Creep, and the chrome stays pretty nice. Snowblower hasn't given me any problems. And I have some other stuff new to the shop around here. This thing, I need to get the rims powder coated. I powder coated the trailer, but I never got the rims powder coated, and then I got to hit that with the Simplicity Orange. I think I'll paint the outside of the cart with the Simplicity Orange and leave the frame and the inside black, is what I think I'm going to do with that, and then get the decals for it. Here's a new addition to the shop. I follow Twisted V-Twin Garage and Polar Bear Ed on live streams. Sometimes I go up. I had actually showed this on one of the live streams one time. This is kind of an odd bird, being that's a Model 70. And it's 18. These engines are not common. To my knowledge, they've only been used in 2 other model tractors. I believe they've been used in the Massey Ferguson tractors and the Power King tractors and Simplicity. This is the original engine to this tractor. This is a overhead valve cast iron K-Series K361 engine. Cast iron block, aluminum head, overhead valve. These engines didn't really survive too well because they're known for dropping valve seats, whether that's because the heads were not machined right or tight enough tolerances, or maybe they were getting plugged up with grass and nobody cleaned them out and they overheated and dropped valve seats. So this engine is not going to just be kicked around the bush and made to run. This is going to need a full teardown and a full inspection because it could have a drop seat and still run and then destroy the head. If the valve seat has dropped, it'll have to be cut down, welded up, and remachined to accept a new seat. So that'll be a project. But interesting things about this is it still has the Simplicity dipstick on it, the Simplicity muffler, and the Simplicity throttle controls right there. And they're still free. So nice to get all of that with this tractor. The headlights, as per usual, are always fogged on these. I've only ever seen one set that weren't destroyed. And even if I didn't want them because I don't really like the look of these hoods. They're not very pretty. So I actually gave some headlights to Go-Karts Are Gone Fishing. You can look them up on YouTube as well. I like the earlier stuff. I don't really like this later year stuff. But the transmission is a hydrostatic Sunstrand. And this will be a good transmission to put in my brother's tractor. However, the valve reliefs are stuck, so it's going to need some work. I'm not sure what's going to be involved in fixing that. I'll have to wait and see. And the PTO clutch material had actually come loose on it because this thing had been sitting for probably 10 years or more outside, untouched. The fender pan's actually off to Model 34, earlier year tractor, so it's a bit of a... That's the only thing that's not original. It's almost a Frankenstein, but it's not. That's the only non-original part. Still has the seat stop on it, which is nice. And it's missing 1 or 2 baffle pieces for the air cooling. But not a big deal. But my brother Jonathan has a shuttle drive transmission tractor. And I believe the only thing I have to change is the beveled gearbox and all the controls and the transmission. And then this plate, everything else forward on that tractor is the same. That was a Model 7114S, and I had taken the 14 horse in. I'm rebuilding that, and I put my 12 horse from my Alice Chalmers onto his tractor since that was running good. Burns a little oil from bad valve guides, but it'll still, we got him by for the winter. That engine might get rebuilt, we'll see. So I'm going to continue on. Now what was in here was my Craftsman. That'll be coming up soon. One thing else I want to do with these snowblowers I forgot to mention is I need to get a tarp for these. I'm going to put a tarp underneath and over top of them and put a bunch of mothballs in there to keep the mice out of them. Granted, I haven't had any problems with mice getting in them. So let me continue on. Coming up, I'm going to start up some Craftsman tractors. beat that. She's idling, no choke. Quite happy. I love the sound of that thing. The way that thing just chugs. Give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye. Okay, I got some bonus footage for you. Here's the carrier from my one Craftsman that I was running with a scoop bucket. As you can see, everything's quite happy, but if you look at on the shaft in there, you'll see the shaft is spinning, but it's actually broken between those splines there and the shaft. It's actually broken. You can see the planetary gear is actually spinning, but the shaft is actually bound up in this plate. But look at that, it's got, what, 5 sets of gears? Or 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, yep. 6 set of gears for that planetary set. It's pretty nice. Pretty heavy duty. Nice heavy duty straight cuts, and even though this thing has 40 years worth of use on it, the gear teeth are still in nice shape on that thing. But yeah, that's this transmission. That was the parts. And I have that on a tray so the oil wouldn't spill in my car. Thank goodness. Oop, sorry. And these are all the spare parts off of that transmission. Hubs, pulleys, brake bands, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, that's all been fixed. I can go back in my Craftsman. The reason I wanted to fix this transmission is because the shifter for the high-low is different between the two. So that's all been fixed. It's all been resealed up. So